The joint committees of the city of Amory,
Committee of the whole.
Committee of the whole.
the which? Committee of the whole, yeah. As the duly presiding officer, I will be now in session. And I think our first item of, yeah, I don't know, I didn't look at that, but the first item of business should be we have to elect a, yeah, that's even before this. We have to elect a chairperson.
Well, actually,
Roll call?
yep, I'll do roll
Okay.
call first, then we can talk about.
Okay,
that. So, Strobush.
Here.
Raymond Schneider. Here. Van Blaricom.
here,
Isaacson.
Here.
Lanham. Here. Leonard.
Here.
Elkin.
Here.
okay.
If you do want to relay about what we're doing, that will probably be at the April meeting, when we do the reorganizational part of it.
Yes.
I think that's when we'll do that. So
Oh, the
this
election
meeting,
process, all
Yeah.
right, so I'm it till we do the reorganization.
You're right.
All right, cool.
And then we'll vote on it.
Yep, okay, let's do, it's 5 to 5:15. Ben's got a schedule tight here for department head reports.
So we'll do it quick.
Patty?
Take my mask off. I can't. The new water and sewer rates are currently underway. We should be accomplishing their completion in the next month or so. I recently completed employee evaluations with my staff and department heads. The process went quite well, I believe. I also had department heads do evaluations on their staff as well. The police department had the opportunity to receive their COVID-19 shots, and the public works department are up for an opportunity to do as well this week. I am in the process of getting ready for the open book, which will be July 13th at 10 to noon, and board of review will be July 20th from 10 to noon. Our last election for the year will take place on Tuesday, April 6th from 7 to 8 p.m., 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. This will be the spring election, which will consist of state superintendent of public instruction, court of appeals, school board member, and referendum. We'll be holding a pre-construction meeting with A1 Excavating on Monday, March 22nd at 1:30 p.m. I have invited two of the businesses that have a lot of truck traffic, and there will be a meeting with the businesses, all the other businesses in A1 on Wednesday, March 24th at 10. There will be a second CDBG citizen participation meeting on Wednesday, March 17th at 4:30. This will be a meeting that gives a public progress on the Keller Avenue Street Utility Project in the city of Amory and request citizen input on the Community Development Block Grant, the CDBG program, which has partially funded the project. I've been working closely with Justin Fisher of Baird Financial to help us work on funding for the City Center project. He will present his plan this evening for the City Center preliminary plan of finance for this venture. I, along with Mayor Isaacson, Public Works Director Mahoney, and Deputy Clerk Treasurer Jansen, met with Eric Henningsgaard last week regarding additional changes that need to be done to the South Industrial Park, such as utilities, easements, permitting, retention pond, and stormwater improvements. That's all I've got for now. Any questions?
Sounds like enough.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Police chief.
Good evening, Mayor Isaacson, council members, city staff, and community there. March so far has been extremely busy. We have seen a substantial increase in juvenile calls, especially at our learning institutions, primarily students being disorderly. We certainly hope this is not indicative of a trend for the upcoming months, although we generally see an increase in calls as the weather warms. Officer Anderson is in her second week of field training with Officer Hickok and is doing very well. We're awaiting the arrival of our new canine squad in the next 2 or 3 weeks and look forward to having another road by early May. The 2021 Dodge Durango will complement our other 3 squads, which are 2017, 2019, and 2020 Dodge Ram trucks. Our new tasers have also arrived, and I've been in contact with Instructor Chief Strobush about training dates. Our staff has also started getting ready for the move this fall. We are going through items to see what we can put up for sale, recycle, or dispose of. This will be a few month process to weed out things that we will not be able to accommodate as a new department or are not needed. On the same lines, I can continue to seek out quotes and information on needed items not included in the building cost, and I will keep adding the council apprised of that information. With the warm weather, we've suspended winter parking, but we do ask that we get a significant snowfall there that between now and April 15th, that people remove their vehicles from the street. Lastly, Tornado and Severe Weather Awareness Week is April 12th through the 16th. And just to note, Wisconsin averages about 23 tornadoes a year there, and in 2020, there were 20 of them. The city does have sirens located in North Park and near the Emory Hospital and Clinic to help with the reporting. However, we ask that residents and visitors stay aware of changing weather conditions and have a safety plan in place. Also, I'm going to be meeting shortly, or soon rather, with our other emergency services partners there to make sure everything is good. So, is there any questions at all?
Have you made any progress on the shooting range?
We have, the last time I sent an email out to some of the residents out there that still have expressed some concerns that we need to sit down and talk about there, but our hope is that once the weather now warms up there, that we'll be able to get out there. So we're looking at somewhere between 4 and 6 times a year there, like we had talked about at a previous meeting there, so.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Director of Public Works.
Well, good evening, everyone. At the sewer plant, we put in a new SCADA system. The other one was 25 years old and it's got some issues. That controls about 75% of the plant. It tells VFDs when to kick on with alarms, and it'll let everybody know when it calls out. The clarifier, we had issues with that, of course. That froze up over the winter, and there's a skimmer arm that goes around that ripped off the rubber, so we had to attach those temporary now, but we ordered new ones for that, so that'll be coming too. The influence sampler went down. You know, that's 25 years old, just a little refrigerator, but because of what it handles, it's $5,000 refrigerator, you know. So we got all that fixed, and that's all running good now. Been working with AIRS and the DNR. We have our dam inspection coming up again, because we're a hazard dam, so it's gotta be every 2 years. There's a water main break we were just talking about on Central and Howard. Got that repaired. Everything went pretty well, considering. Water line freeze ups, I think we're gonna talk about that later. We had about 4 of those this winter, which isn't too bad. Hopefully we'll be able to figure out some different ones for Wisconsin, try to do something a little better to help them out and everybody in that area. And then we went through and got our Public Works Department evaluations done. You guys have been doing a lot of shop maintenance, dump trucks, graders, working on barricades, getting ready for this upcoming season. And then, of course, we went from plowing snow to having the crew out sweeping and patching streets. So if anybody sees them out and about, please give them a little extra room. And that's about it. Oh, George did call about the goose thing too. Want to get some guys rounded up to boil eggs. Any questions?
Got anything coming up that you think is gonna be extraordinary?
This summer?
Well, early year, I mean, anything other than I call Main Street being
Yeah.
tore up
We're
from.
hoping that'll kind of do it. They'd like to do some more of that friction sealing. Going around with the guys, trying to do some of that, see how that's gonna hold up.
Mhm.
And then just, hopefully it'll stay mellow. We got enough going on.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Thanks.
And we don't have the fire chief here, but
No, he would be,
he's doing his to the committee. Okay,
and Amy's got hers in your packets.
pardon?
Amy
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
she wasn't able to attend, so she's got hers. as
Okay.
attends.
okay. Baird Capital General Obligation Bond presentation.
Hi, Justin.
Hey Patty,
Thanks for coming
see
in.
myself on the screen, so that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
You wearing pants? You're asking a lot.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
get started.
Great. Well, like Patty said, I've been working closely with her over the last several months, kind of developing a plan of finance for the city center project. Many of you may not remember me, but I assisted the city back in 2016 with their last large financing to refinance a bunch of outstanding debt, which saved the city about $234,000. So it's been a while since I've been at the city, but Patty and I have been, working together over the last really, ever since Patty's been there, assisting with different things and so forth. So this is kind of the next project we're working on. And in front of you, I believe, Patty, you distributed the financing presentation to the COW members, right?
That's correct.
Yep. So if you take a look at that on page 1 of that presentation, what I'm showing there is the general obligation debt service for the city of Amory. So on the left side of the page, what's important there is the standing principal that's highlighted in blue. So as you can see, there's about $2.2 million in outstanding general obligation debt for the city of Amory. And that's an important thing to know, as I'm going to reference on the future pages, because that's not a high amount of debt for a community like you. So you've been very prudent over the last several years and keeping your debt load very low, so you have the ability to take on this project and not have any concerns. So as you continue on that page, from going to the right side, there's different offsetting revenues, such as the TID supporting revenues, water revenues, and so forth, that ultimately gets you to the right side of the page, which is your net levy supported debt service. And that area that I have in green, that's going to be important, because that's what we're ultimately modeling this overall financing plan around. As you can see, in 2026, there's a little bit of a drop there from 223,000 to 178,000. So that gives us some good information to be able to amortize this new potential debt around the existing debt to minimize the tax impact to your constituents. So going to page 2 of that presentation, what I'm showing here is that municipalities are allowed to borrow 5% of your equalized valuation. So the city's valuation is about $235 million. So 5% of that is about $12 million in available borrowing capacity. Like I said on the prior page, about $2.2 million is only outstanding. So this gives you about $9+ million in available capacity at the start of 2021. So when you're thinking about how much this project is going to cost and your available capacity, you can see that you have the capacity to be able to fund this project. So going to page 3 of this presentation, the first step in the process is going to be a note anticipation note. You can think of this as like the construction interim financing for the project. The not to exceed amount would be $4 million, and it'll fund that city center project that you're looking to do. It'll close June 1 of 2021 and mature December 1 of 2021 with a call feature in there of September 1 of 2021. The estimated interest rate for that short-term financing is a 1.05%. So as project costs are being finalized from June through the summer and so forth, what we're hoping is that the project cost comes in under that $4 million. And once everything is finalized and you feel comfortable with the total project amount, that's when we're going to take out the short-term financing and lock in the long-term general obligation bonds for about 20 years. So there's the reason why we want to do that is because we don't necessarily want to borrow more than what we need to on a long-term basis. If project costs come in less than the $4 million, that's awesome. We can refinance, take out that short-term financing and say, do a $3,750,000 a long-term financing. So that's ultimately what we want, the flexibility to be able to not lock in long-term debt right off the bat, because as project costs are being finalized, we want that flexibility to be able to lock in when things are more concrete. So going to page 4, here's the timeline. So there's going to be quite a few steps over the next several months, and this will be me, working with Patty and her team to kind of get all these steps completed. But the first step in this process is ultimately to present the plan of finance to you to get direction to proceed with the plan as presented. Then the preparations would be made for the no anticipation note issuance. The term sheet would be developed and ultimately sent out to local and national banks for them to participate in purchasing the short-term financing. Then City Council would consider the award resolution for that on May 5th of 2021. And at that same meeting, City Council would consider a parameters resolution for the general obligation refunding bonds. And that parameters resolution is going to lay out certain parameters that need to be met in order to take out the short-term financing with the long-term financing. So when you're thinking about what parameters would that be, you're saying a maximum interest rate of X, and it's giving authority to Patty as the city administrator to sign off when timing is optimal, when you're ready, and when project costs are finalized. So all those certain things would be in place, and over the June through August, September timeframe, that's when we would be getting together the offering document that would be for the long-term general obligation 20-year bonds. So there's a lot of step work that's going to go into that. The preparations would include the official statement, which is going to be, think of this as like a stock prospectus, about a 30-page document that's going to contain all the necessary financial information about the city for potential bond purchasers to make an informed decision. The city has currently an outstanding bond credit rating of an A+. And this was something that we did back in the 2016 financing. The city obtained its first bond credit rating. And an A+ rating is a very strong bond credit rating. And the hope is that when we go through this process, that the city would be able to obtain the A+ bond credit rating. Then come August, September, that's when the city administrator would execute the approving certificate, locking in the interest rates for the long-term financing, and then closing 30 days after locking in the interest rates. So going to page 5 of this presentation, this is a little bit more of the details of the overall plan here. So again, from the left side of the page, that's your existing debt service on a year-by-year basis. So when we looked at that first page, on that far right side of that mimics what you see there from the existing debt service. Then we layer in the short-term financing and take that out. Say it happens in September of this year. You can see that what we're doing is trying to structure the financing around your existing debt service to minimize the tax impact that your constituents would feel. So as you can see, there's potentially no principal in the first couple of years, and then there's minimal principal being repaid to kind of keep that tax rate down. Then what we're going to do is amortize it over the next several years to get basically in that blue box a combined level annual repayment schedule. So you can see that currently $250,000 is about what your current debt service levy is. it would go to about $340,000 based on projections. Now, as interest rates move up or down, that'll change. We have a cushion in here just to be conservative in projections and so forth. But this hopefully gives you a good idea on what things may look like as we come to August, September timeframe. This also assumes 0% growth to the valuation. So that's an important thing. Hopefully that's going to be very conservative, because as your valuation grows year over year, that also allows for your mill rate to be lower. So increase in growth, lower mill rate. This assumes 0% growth. So that's why you can see that the mill rate basically stays pretty consistent at that about $2 for debt service. So going to page 6, this shows you, again, once we take the existing debt service, which is the black bars in this, and then you have the blue bars, which is the city center project, you can see that there's still remaining capacity year over year if something else came up from a capital investment perspective. If you needed to borrow, or there was something unknown that happened and you need to be able to borrow money for a project, you have that capacity still available to you. And as you can see, it will be about $5.8 million in available capacity. So it should give you comfort that even though you're taking on this large project, you still are in good financial shape, and you have plenty of flexibility going year over year. And the nice thing is, as you pay down principal year over year, your capacity will increase year over year. So that's kind of a general overview of the plan of finance. A lot of steps in the process, but Patty and I, we've been communicating quite often on this, and we feel pretty good about where we are.
So as we looking at this, note, I'm looking at page 5. You got $4 million, note anticipation note, 1.05% interest, 10,500. And then in the second column, where you have current rates plus 0.025% of $4 million, and you have interest 2.39%. Is that the interest that you think it's going to be, and that's going to change on a daily basis?
Yeah, that's a projection as of right now. I mean, we have about four plus months before we would lock in the long-term interest rates. So interest rates are going to continue to change on a daily basis, but from where they are right now, this is kind of a conservative projection of what it could look like. But again, it's going to be dependent on when we get to that August timeframe where interest rates are. But this should give you a decent idea.
So when we were talking about this earlier in the year, we talked about TID monies being available for this project. Does that show up? That's not available?
There was infrastructure, gas, electric, whatever has to go underground to be replaced in their building, that would be covered only.
And so did the 4 million not include, or the 3.5, did that not include the infrastructure costs?
No, that included the infrastructure cost, but it wasn't subtracted out. That was the total.
So the actual construction cost is going to be somewhat less than that due to the TID costs?
By 50 to 100,000. Not terribly a lot, because there's not much infrastructure to change.
Is 4 billion a big enough number? Because we've already started talking about material cost increasing this summer, no projects ever come in on target anyways. Is it a big enough number?
Yeah, does this cover fixtures and other things that are not part of the original estimate that we're liable for as well?
Right, those things down on the bottom that are gonna be.
Those things at the bottom, right.
Yeah. So, and those things can be wildly off too.
$500,000 in a $3.5 million project is not that big of a cushion, I don't think. Especially when you're looking at projects that tend to go between 10 and 20% over.
If we go, we should get within, we're doing finishes next week, and what is it, the middle of April, we get a final cost, a bid cost on it, and then that's when we'll know. If they hold to 3.5, then we just have the things down at the bottom, that comes in at 3.6 or 3.7. What am I saying? That is the cost. It can't be any more than that because we get the construction manager. So, but you're right, the things at the bottom of the list,
I mean, would we be better off just to, for conversation's sake, plan 4.25? Again, the interim,
It's a not to exceed number anyway.
right, I mean, it's not saying that we're gonna go that far, but at least we have enough cushion in there. If something happens, they start digging into the building and they find, a footing is deteriorating, or, something really bizarre happens. A lot easier to go for, to approve the funds now than it is to come back and say, hey, we need an additional $500,000.
but isn't that 5% contingency already included? A 5% contingency for construction into that?
I mean, if you're confident on the 4 million, I'm just
Well, that's
bringing that
already-
conversation.
That's already $500,000 more than what we projected for the cost of it. It's my experience, if you appropriate a certain amount for the project, you will spend it regardless of what it really ends up costing. You'll figure out something to do, so. I know, but I hear you when you say,
So, Justin, as we move forward on here and we say, well, $4 million is what we want to go for, and it comes in at 4.1, let's say, 4.15, can that be changed at that time?
No. No, that's why I think it's a great conversation that you're having it right now, because you wanna be pretty conservative in your estimates, because we can always go lower, we just can't increase it.
There, that answers.
But I think we should set it at 4.25, just to have a cushion in there. With our target being 3.5, 3.6, 3.7. But again, we're dealing with a 30-year-old building. And if something goes sideways.
The thing that bothers the most is material costs.
Yeah.
And that's really
And that's
outside of the
uncertain.
control of anybody.
But from their last conversation, that 3.5 million included estimated material cost.
Sure,
And
I'll be
when,
interested to see if that's still the same number the next
Yeah.
time we get together. Because,
Yeah.
Me too. Because it's changing rather quickly right now, and
Yeah.
availability.
And
But-
it doesn't state it, we can always go lower. We just have to-
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it as a target to go over, as much as I see it as, the 3.5, or, what that number is, that's our target, period. But if we ran into something that's a hard stop because of not having a ceiling, it would cost us more in the long run.
now this discussion is to listen and get our facts and figures. Are we gonna have the bank present a program for us also? I would assume so. I was at the bank today. They're talking 2.1% over 10 years. It's the cost per year is higher. Interest rate's about the same, because that can change.
Well, we're gonna put it out for bid too, so.
Yes.
They're
You know,
invited to.
Bremer can make a bid on it, or whichever bank.
Okay,
you're talking about. But also, we're gonna have, like you said, national bidders looking at this and
That's the beauty of a bond rather than,
Right,
Or
when
loan.
is the next time you get, updated on projected costs? I forget what that was.
after we go through finishes next week,
Yeah,
so,
maybe next week on that, so.
so for our, like you said, like that in his timeline there, May 16th would be the,
May 5th is
May
when,
May 5th.
when we're supposed to consider the
Mhm.
resolution for geo.
And I shared all the schedules with Justin too, so
Mhm.
yeah,
he's been in the loop with everything that's going on.
Yeah. Could he run a schedule for, 4.25? That way we have both sets of numbers, we have both options available to us to
For
consider
council.
for council.
Can you do that, Justin? Could you do?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's not a problem.
Really good, I didn't see him do one of these, so.
Or go click.
Forehead slap, or he's disconnected from Zoom.
But then we have both options available to us and.
I think just because you can't change it later,
Mhm.
and if we know something more after the finishes and after everything else.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but these geo bonds, this is the only thing they can be used for? Is that correct? And
That's
then if we got 50,000 or 100,000 left over, we can't buy a pool, for instance, or something like that with it.
Whose house?
Huh?
For whose house?
Whoever's chairman at the
Yeah.
time, right? So they are dedicated just for that project, the geo bonds, or can they be used for anything else? Let's say they come in at 3.5 or whatever, so our construction costs are that. Can we use any of that, any of the remaining money for something else?
Well, that's why we would wait to do the long-term general obligation bonds until you were pretty confident on the final construction costs. At that point, we would then go to the public market and, bid it out maturity by maturity. So your local banks can have that opportunity, national banks, insurance companies, everyone, to ultimately drive the interest rates to the lowest possible point. And that's why communities issue general obligation bonds in the public market, is to ultimately get the lowest interest rate on larger projects like this and be able to fund it over a longer period of time. I mean, this useful life on this project is going to be 20 plus years, and you can do general obligation bonds for up to 20 years. So that was the thought process when Patty and I were talking, is let's take this, up as far as we can, because the useful life makes sense versus say a 10-year financing or some other, or 15 or shorter.
So we'll have our council meeting will be April 7th, Justin, just so you know.
Patty, I apologize. Can you say that one more time?
Our council meeting will be April 7th.
Okay, sounds good.
Any further discussion? We don't need a motion on it, I don't think. We just ask for,
so are we gonna discuss this at the next committee as a whole,
okay.
along with
Any
the,
other comments or?
So yeah, this will be a recommendation to council.
Yeah.
So we need a motion for that. And Tim said 4.25. Is that your motion, Tim?
Sure. Why not?
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to increase the bid for funds for the city center project to $4.25 million. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, everyone.
Next item on the agenda is a waterman's contract update discussion. I think, was everybody at the meeting when Dick was here last time?
Yeah, and,
I wasn't,
oh,
I was home, but I couldn't
Oh,
hear it. I could
oh,
not hear
okay.
it.
Well, the general proposition is that Polk County has instituted tipping funds for the haulers that haul in there for their recyclables. Previous to this, I think it was, they just accepted the recyclables along with any citizens that brought their stuff in. And now they've instituted, was it $90 a ton? $70 a ton. So with a 8 or 9 ton load, Dick's looking at, the appropriate amount of money that he has to pay to get rid of that load of recyclables.
and at the committee, we discussed some solutions to that, and we really didn't settle on one, which is probably a good thing. I contacted Patty after the meeting with a couple of questions. One, we have a contract with Waterman's, and to review the contract, and in that contract, it made mention, and I'll let Patty go into the details of it, but Waterman's pays the tipping fees. So they're responsible for those tipping fees already. So we're not, that kind of eliminates us from that equation, because they're in the contract, they're already doing that. The other question I had too was, how much Amory recycling goes to the recycling center? Not Waterman's recycling, but City of Amory recycling. Because the numbers he was giving us were not real solid numbers. I was not real confident in it, and I don't think anybody was real confident. So I was just looking for better data, better information, and I'll let Patty kind of take it from there, what she found in her research.
Well, I contacted Fran Duncanson because she's a Polk County representative for our district. And she sent me an email, and that's included in your packet. The only thing was she couldn't get good information for just Amory. It turns out that the information that was supplied to us is all recycling, and I'm thinking it's probably Locke, Frederick, whatever goes into the recycling that he picks up. Paul and I had a discussion about that before the meeting started, and would you say 2/3 was probably more in line, Paul?
Well, I invited Dick to be here at 5:40 according to the schedule, so he's expected to be here and
Okay.
bring those figures from the first 3 months.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year, January, when they started charging tipping fees, they have an account that they sign up for, so they know exactly what's coming from Amory, what's coming from the other jurisdictions. And he said you'd have that,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, and the reason I brought it up is, if it's a contract thing, we need to fix the contract, not just reimburse them for,
Right.
the tipping fee. Excuse me. And the other part of it too is how much of it's going from Amory, just to have the data, so. Hopefully he shows up and we can get that information.
Yeah, I had a follow-up conversation with him about this as well, and they do have the ability to separate out Amory from all the rest of the loads. They just have to, record who it's coming from. So currently, the waste removal that's billed to the residents is for waste and recycling, or waste only?
I think it's just waste only, correct, Linda? Yeah.
Okay. So, it was brought up that, should we add on the recycling piece of it that they've been doing? Can that not be added on to residents' utility bills if they choose the service?
They can. We have to just put another line item on the billing for recycling. But I guess I would have an issue if they're gonna try and bill everybody, because not everybody uses it.
Right. Well, and I think
So
that
they would have to notify me who is using the recycling to bill.
right, and I actually had a conversation with Dick about that, they would supply the tote or the bin or whatever it is to the people that request it. They would know who it is that needs to be billed and therefore have it added onto their utility bill.
I think they do that now. Maybe
Not for recycling.
Not for recycling.
you have a tote for recycling.
No.
No.
I thought
We get plastic boxes.
No. Don't have anything to recycle.
Well, what it all boils down to is if you take it over to the recycling center, it goes for free. If Dick
Right.
picks it up, now we're, you know, besides the city, I don't know if they split that out, did they split their bill out between garbage pickup and recycling pickup? Or are they doing that out of the goodness of their heart, or what?
Separate it out.
Dick Waterman's,
Right here, one, Castle.
how does that work? Dick, I didn't see you come in, sorry about that. How does that work?
I thought I was on time, I must be.
Oh,
You're good.
You're good.
Yes, it is separated out for commercials. Residential is not.
So your charge for picking up garbage just includes that trip around for those folks that are recycling.
We've never really charged for it. no.
Right, that's kind of what I thought. So we're still back to the deal, if people take their recycling over the fire hall, then the county picks it up for nothing versus charging 18 grand. No, is that 18.6, is that, that includes not just the city of Amory, but that includes you pick up recycling other places too?
No, it's just the city of Bainbridge. It was $1,500 in January.
So says here, according to county records, Waterman brought in 258 tons of recycling to the center last year.
Yeah.
And that just came from Amory.
No,
No,
it's not just Bainbridge. We
No,
did-
that's
they-
all.
They
the
separated out, they started the first of the year, we have to punch in Bainbridge code when we dump Milltown, Balsam Lakes.
okay.
We punch in the code.
So the 258 tons actually came from 4 or 5 municipalities then?
Oh,
Okay,
all of Polk County.
okay.
And when you and I had the conversation, you told me, and I don't recall what it was, what do you think the percentages of Amory residents that actually use the recycling service, or have you pick up recycling versus not?
I questioned the driver. Now it's about 40%. In the summertime, it really increases. It's double.
Mhm.
So I'm expecting that $1,500 to maybe double in June, July, August, September, October, in the winter months.
Yeah, that seems like a lot, because I think only 3 people on our street put out recycling.
See, on my street, there's like 2 out of 14, 16 houses.
Can't hear you.
Oh, I said on our street, out of, I think there's 14 or 16 houses, there's only 2 that I see at recycling now.
Well, I make up for those people on my street that don't, so.
Yeah. So do we.
We used to put a bin out, but he kept taking our bin too, so.
So we try to recycle, but I always haul it over because I don't have a good place to store this stuff till, and I'm terrible about remembering what day recycling goes, so. It was just easier to put it in the back of the truck and haul it over there than listen to my better half say, you gotta take care of that.
So what's the future of recycling gonna be?
Well, the stuff is, milk jugs are high priced right now. Tin cans have a value, aluminum cans have a slight value. I think the education is where we're steering towards here. And if we could get a little help with that, maybe if they took it to the drop-off point and there was somebody standing there saying, take the styrofoam and the plastic out of your TV box, that's recycling. When you stuff it all together, it's not. Rinse the jugs out. Get the ketchup out and the mayonnaise, that's recycling. I'm trying to think of all the things I've seen in it today.
About glass,
Yes,
I know there's not a whole lot of value to it.
none,
Especially if it's filled with spaghetti sauce, right?
less than, yes.
Yeah. Garbage there.
Glass has a minus value right now. We are mixing it in with our crushed concrete with mixed results, mostly good. That's what we're gonna do with it. Try to get it out of the waste stream, the tonnage, I mean, that's a lot of weight. The beer bottles, they really add up. But we need
We gotta start with education, that, we got their full attention down there at those blue bins. It might work. Then in a year, we go with a different program, single stream, pick it up easier, take it somewhere different. I don't know if Polk County is even gonna be in the game in a year from now.
I guess that's the question that follows is if the amounts go up at the station behind the fire hall, is the county going to continue or get out of that business too? Or increase the number, you'd have to increase the number of receptacles if people are going to take it there.
They have to give you so much time notice that they're gonna get out. You know, we could make a plan.
Okay.
Which probably
And
won't
that would be the biggest issue, if you make a plan and then the plan changes.
First thing is to educate them what is recyclable to put in that bin in the first place. Then when it comes down to it, when we get them bins, they're gonna be knowing what they're doing.
Well, I know our utility bills are gonna be going out in the next couple months, or not months, but a few weeks, 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. And that's always a good opportunity to start sliding flyers in there, and I'm sure Ben and city staff would be more than happy to put something together that somebody can hang on their cabinet door and, okay, this is what goes and what doesn't go. But then there's also the issue of, is there a separate recycling bin? Separate from the garbage bin?
There will be,
Are they available now?
not yet.
Okay.
The women's club has been a strong supporter of recycling, if you recall getting chewed on a time or two. And I think they probably are a good
The term is
resource.
educated.
Pardon?
The term is educated.
Okay, they've been a strong supporter of it.
But thing too, 'cause the kids come home from school,
Yeah.
and they're the ones who make the recycle.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know?
When are the bins gonna be available?
They're on order.
Now, when you say bins, do you mean single source bins, or are these going to be,
Single source. Instead of just handing that bin out, all you're doing today would be giving them another garbage can. But if we went, if somebody told them, educated them, by the time we put them out, maybe we have a better product.
Sure.
That's what my reasoning is.
is it gonna take different equipment on your part?
No, I could use the same trucks that we pick up the trash with, instead of buying these other recycling trucks that you have to separate everything. So I separate, take that facility. That facility is an antique. It's outdated.
When you do that, will you separate like cardboard from other or all in one?
It'll all go together on single stream.
So you're kind of saying, let's stop recycling, let's stop pickup recycling, and let's put in place a program to educate the people, so when the single stream comes out and we're ready for it, then we move forward.
That would be the way to go.
Okay, now what's, because single source, this could be a lot more expensive, the people that sign up for those single source recycling tubs is could be costly.
Yes.
But that's something you can pass on to the consumer.
Yes. You're gonna get them to sign up. You say, you're gonna take one. Might not. Rick hauls his own down there. He probably wouldn't take one. We gotta identify those people.
So if you went to single source and by what you said, it wouldn't go to the Polk County recycling anymore.
I'm not gearing up for them, no.
You're gearing up for yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think city staff, I'm sure you guys have the capacity to help them out and start working on the education and move forward to make this happen.
And I would encourage the women's club to be involved in it.
I actually have
Because
contacted Gloria.
they've been promoting that
Yeah.
in the city for quite some time.
And we've been talking back and forth, so just kind of waiting to hear what she has to say. She's gonna get me some updates.
I'm sure I'm probably not the only one, but a significant amount of my personal recycling is cardboard. Because I get stuff every day of the week from various places, and my wife's in love with Amazon, so we get cardboard galore. So, you know, having a bin, while it would answer the issue of cans and glass, will not answer the cardboard situation particularly. And that seems to me that that's, at this point in time, is a valuable resource rather than a detriment like glass or you know.
Would it help you, Dick, if we did like a survey and had that in the water bill and everybody fills out if they're interested, not interested, that type of thing?
It would be a start.
Yep, and then they could just bring it to City Hall and drop it off in the drop box.
Yep.
So then we could kind of get a counting of who
Yep.
would be interested.
When COVID things are over and we can get our bins finally delivered. It'll be late summer, early fall.
Yep, then you have a more effort, maybe, I mean,
We know where to start. House number.
yeah, we can do something like that, I think.
If I could just, but in that survey, though, you would state that, assuming that the full county still has their things where they have, it, right?
Right,
So our choices are to take care of ourselves, which Rick does, I do, et cetera, or would you sign?
would you sign up for that service?
So we assume that'll stay where it is right now.
That's the assumption, yeah.
So does Dick continue collecting the recyclables, or do we instruct everybody just to bring it to the recycling center, bring their own?
I think for the time being, we just keep doing what we're doing, but make sure people are aware that recycling bins are available as well.
Okay.
Because it's probably, a lot of people who don't even know they're there.
So, does that give, so, I guess, what am I saying? How does, do we make Dick hold in on this, for the extra tipping fees that, he's being charged?
Well, I think we'd have to modify the contract.
Yes.
So I guess I'd lean on Patty to get them, come up with a proposed modified contract, make it retroactive. And then bring that back to
What do you think your timeframe will
review the
be
whole.
to get on, up and running with the different program? Roughly, you don't have to tell me
July.
July, okay.
But it depends on when your bids come in too.
Yeah.
That's the whole.
6 months.
So if you get your bins and they come in, say it's August or whatever, and you collect up to there, and all of a sudden now you're gonna start charging for the bins to drop them off, you're not gonna pick up unless they're in that bin, correct?
Right.
So everybody's gonna be bringing it down there for free.
Yep.
Okay. Otherwise, you're gonna start charging. So it's going to be, you
But
think people that,
I'm gonna be paying for the convenience of not having to drive it downtown.
Right.
That's the
Are-
difference.
You
Yeah.
said that cardboard is good. Do you have any way, like, I don't generate that much cardboard, obviously, not enough to bale it, but do you have a way of collecting? If I brought my cardboard somewhere, that you could easily pick it up, or is there a method where instead of sending it to Polk County and paying $90 a ton to drop cardboard off, that we can give it to you and you can make the money on the cardboard?
We do that, but it takes another person to stand and watch that.
You just separate it at
Right.
the dumping station, right?
There's some businesses in town that are found determined to bring it out to us, but we separated the plastic and the styrofoam.
So other than Save a Lot and Dick's, do you have, how many people bale cardboard?
In Montgomery,
Yeah,
Summerland's got a trailer.
That does, but I don't know where it goes.
We've all,
Okay, they do have a big unit too.
we bail 3 semi-loads a week of cardboard out there, bales 8 hours a day.
Wow.
So it's not that we're not recycling, I mean, I want everybody to know that we're not stopping recycling, we're just trying to get a handle on it. We couldn't get into Polk County last summer, they turned us away 3 out of 4 weeks. So we took it down to advanced disposal, paid the $100 a ton to get rid of it. 10 days later, they sent you another bill for contamination. That's what I would like to see,
That's
the
the
education here before we jump into this.
You don't have a baler, a cardboard baler yourself?
Yes,
You do?
in that building, yeah, we bail all day long. Conveyor fed, milk, and, it's funny that the sales gal from LDI Fibers, when we ship it, she come out, and she said, all indicators are that the next 2 years that cardboard consumption is gonna be skyrocketing. I said, what would you use for an indicator on cardboard? She said, Walmart and Amazon,
Yeah.
2 main leaders in the world for cardboard consumption.
So are you good with working with city staff to start working out a plan and
Sure.
have them bring it back to us?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can meet that. You and I will kind of talk about what we'll dig into it a little deeper, so. We'll set up a time and just sit down and look at the contract.
I think just something like, so if you look out 3 years from now, or let's say 2 years from now, like you said, if Polk County is out of the business up there, does that mean those go away? So we don't have a choice.
I'm assuming so.
There's no questionnaire to use. Either you're gonna use the tubs, right? Or you're gonna do what?
Put it in the garbage.
In the garbage.
If they go away.
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that we make it sound like we got an either or situation here, and we may not.
No, we're saying we have either or now,
No.
knowing it can change,
Right.
absolutely knowing it.
But the point of the questionnaire, I, for example, I would say I don't want to tow. But I guess I have a right to change that if that goes away.
Oh, that's
Right.
As long as it's anyway.
Right.
That's, yeah, that's even more,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm more concerned that they're gonna take it away sooner than
Right.
later,
Right.
is what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
So the recycling bins that are on their way, is it like a dumpster or like
Same card as what's at your house.
same cart, just different color?
Got a yellow lid on, it explains to you on top of the lid what is and what isn't recyclable and how to do it.
Yeah.
You get them to read it.
Yeah.
That's the next.
How many gallon are they gonna be?
There's 2 sizes, a 65 and a 95 gallon.
Okay, so the ones that have a lot of cardboard would probably want,
Larger one, yeah. Then it also, you can only pick it up what's in the bin. It's gonna be automated, so we're not gonna get out a lot.
Mhm.
That's another point we're gonna have to stress.
Yeah, and really what happens, and I'm not the only one, I know Rick said he does it, but it's so much easier to collect the cardboard and take it here than it is to try to, because some mornings it's raining, some days it's snowing. It's not much fun to have
Yeah.
anybody pick up that wet slimy cardboard, so.
And I just don't have a place to keep.
No, no.
the
I
cardboard.
think about them, so we take it down there because it's relatively easy. Cardboard.
I'm not, we're not, I don't know what the county, they're in the middle of this. I don't know if they're gonna quit completely or make it a transfer, drop-off facility up there, but it's gonna change.
Yeah.
Any other
Do we
questions
need a
for Nick?
motion or anything to proceed, or?
I think we'll just work, and then maybe by next committee of the whole, we'll put that on the agenda. So,
The committee's okay with that game plan?
Can you summarize it though, because there's so much back and forth of, now there's this tipping fee.
right.
The city is agreeing to pay that.
Mm-mm, Not yet, not yet.
Oh, they're still talking about
They're
it.
gonna, she's gonna renegotiate the contract.
Yeah.
Bring the contract back to us. And then they're also gonna work with Ben and city crew to get information out there on the recycling program and what's coming and.
Do that in Waterville, so they have something to look at. Maybe a survey of some sort, explanation of what's good practice.
Do you want me to keep picking up the recycling? Keep taking it up there?
Kind of hard not to right now. Everybody that's doing it.
I think there's still some what ifs.
I don't know if we have an alternative to it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would say that the contract states that you will do that, so I think we have to continue to do it.
And you're gonna get it one way or another. It'll either be in recycling form or garbage can, right? I mean, I don't assume anybody's gonna leave it laying in the yard or take it out in the country and dump it in the ditch, but, that's a possibility
Don't
too.
assume that.
Yeah, I mean, they've
When you
been
drive
doing
around
that
in
for
the spring to
years,
see
so.
the ones that did.
So,
So, but yeah, as far as Julie goes, to straighten this out, Patty's gonna work with Dick. Meantime, Dick's going to keep picking it up, so that's another month that he's paying tipping fees on it. So at the end of this month, we'll
we'll have 4 months worth of tipping fees.
yes. Now, and that tipping fee is gonna cover everyone, that gets the garbage bill now? Or, yes,
Well, if
that'd be
the-
part of the contract?
If the city's responsible for the difference of the tipping fee, I don't think it matters. It's the city. If we're supposed to make it whole,
Yeah, the way the
Then that's
contract
us.
reads right now, it says that the licensee shall pay all tipping fees for the disposal of all waste collected by the licensee. That's the way it reads right now.
No, that's not the recycling.
No.
no, right.
Yeah, for this time, the 60% that are taking care of their own recycling, they're gonna get hooked for their share of the.
Oh, you pay for roads if you don't have a car, so.
I pay for schools.
You pay for. schools.
No, I'm just saying, that's all it's gonna be. You
Yeah,
can't,
1, 2,
yeah,
yep.
yeah.
The opportunity is there for everyone.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll move to the next item.
Thank you.
And we're only 2 minutes off schedule. How about that?
Oh, that happened.
Comes to good management.
All right, no, how did that happen?
Possible closure of Cherry Street intersection with State Highway 46. But that's not exactly so, because it's the intersection with
Harriman.
South Harriman Avenue. So there's more to this proposal than actually just Cherry Street, although that certainly is probably one of the main ones. Part of this needs to be done so that Cherry Street is closed off, I believe, so that the traffic does not back up on Harriman Avenue. And, I think it's also behooves us to put barricades across so that traffic can't come off 46 and go on Cherry Street. At least on a temporary basis. That will, I think, alleviate that intersection. The other parts of that are concerning to me is I believe that we should put no parking on the east side of Harriman Avenue from Elm Street to, no, even further than that, because that street does not widen out again until you get, really, it has to go to County Trunk after to Duranda Street, I think. Just the east side. The Evergreen has good parking across in their parking lot for their own constituents, and the senior center, which is not open yet, by the way, has a whole parking lot, as the hospital has a parking lot, etc. There's lots of off-street parking available there, so.
Well, is it possible to do no parking in other particular areas? Because, I mean, I'm just saying, if you say no parking on the east side of the street, there's still that terrible curve that
Yeah.
goes right before South Twin, that if anybody's parking there on either side of the street, we're gonna have a
You mean
problem.
east or west?
Mhm. That's
Your main
a
areas are
terrible
gonna be-
area,
Yeah, there's,
Water's Edge and Oak Brook,
right?
that's where most of the parking,
I know,
Where a lot of parking happens.
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
know, if they get any visitors there, they just don't have a place for the off-street parking they have accommodates the people that live there. I don't know if I'm brave enough to suggest that we close all of
No,
them.
I'm not saying in front of their buildings. What I'm saying is, you know, at the curve from South Street, or actually even from Evergreen
Yeah.
up to Water's Edge, have it be no parking because it's not wide enough there to accommodate parking on either side of the road.
Especially with that as being a curve, and I'm
Right.
anticipating that's truck traffic. is
Yep,
the big
exactly.
So which curve are you talking about? The one right by Bob Quinas?
Yeah.
Aquinas, yeah.
Couldn't you
just make it no parking except for right in front of those?
Right, that's what I would
That'd be the
do.
easiest thing
Yeah,
to do.
that's what I would do.
So give them like 4 parking spaces in front of each.
No, you know, just that block or whatever it is, kind of right there, just, you know, leave that kind of open for parking and make the rest of it no parking. You know,
We've got
from like
multiple-
Memorial to a Guard Alley almost.
It seems to me the most dangerous one is the one right by Oak Brook. Rather, I mean, they're both equally, but when you come down, when it chokes down from at Elm Street, because the street narrows up substantially at Elm Street. That first corner is, I can't believe we haven't gotten somebody run over there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if you would go from Memorial Avenue, just kind of right in front of Folds Park, or Folder Field, let them park there
Oh.
on the one side and just make the rest of it no parking.
We've got signs ordered, there are additional signs, and we've got some there, and nothing's gonna prevent us, after monitoring that, either the police or Public Works or the community, you know, of us just temporary no parking signs, you know,
Yeah.
as it seems to.
I think that I understand what you're saying, but I think the folks that live there are gonna, you know, not be a lick happy because most of them are not ambulatory or that, you know, they're not able to walk a long ways, and now we're talking about making them walk down the edge of the street for 3-4 car lengths before they get to the entrance. Is that what we're saying?
No, that's not what they're saying.
No, they're
They're
saying to
saying-
let that be parking in that section.
On the west side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just on the east side and Soldier Field side.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
didn't I just say that?
Yeah, what they were
We're
saying
good.
is just leave that alone on the east side for parking and only have no parking the rest of the north and south of that.
Oh, no. I don't think that's a good idea either, because that street doesn't get any wider, you know. There's only, I don't know how many parking spaces there are between,
Yeah, but they're not parking on the east side, period. Nobody.
right,
And it's only allowing parking on the west side.
in the
in
straight,
those
the straight
sections.
part,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because just like Sarah said, that corner by, the Quina House and
Yeah.
the street, that's a tough spot.
Yes, I agree. So
Instead of-
we're talking about what, 6 parking spaces across on the west side of Harriman?
Probably more, 10.
Maybe 10, but, because it's up to Oak Brook too. On the west side. I see
That's-
more parked down further down at Oak Brook, a few are at Oak Brook, mostly,
Right,
Mostly
mostly
down.
in front of Water's Edge,
Yeah.
is where they're parking, but yeah,
there's a lot more people there.
yes. Okay, I'm cool with that personally. And then no parking at all on Berman
right.
from 46 to the north end of Harriman Avenue. No parking on the street there at all, period.
So these no parkings just clarification. This is a temporary thing for the construction downtown. This is not a permanent no parking solution.
TBD.
At this point, it's for construction.
My
Yes.
next question is, okay, closing off of Cherry Street, is that for construction temporary or is that permanent?
TBD.
For now, it's for construction.
Yeah.
Well,
You wanna see what happens.
Yeah, I think what's
We're,
our idea, well, you know, once it's
Yeah, see
temporary.
what happens.
We're doing this whole project because of that corner.
Yes.
This is why we're going from 4 lanes down to 3 lanes, is that that's the most accident prone corner is McDonald's. So, you know, if we close it out and everybody gets happy with with life and, you don't get any complaints,
Yeah.
why open it back up?
I'm sure there'll be some complaints from the folks down there, but I mean, to me, it's just such a safety issue that I think
That's huge.
you can't do anything.
But
about
as
it.
far as being during construction, yeah, that'll save that section of Harriman from trucks. Beaten it up.
Well,
Take that stop sign down, you know, on Harriman as well there then. But,
yes, yep. Yep, and put barricades across the street so nobody turns left onto Harriman Avenue and tries to go up Cherry Street. That's just not there.
Got the big, you know, 6-foot wide ones ready to go.
Yeah.
Do you have any Jersey barriers? The concrete barriers? Might be something to, if this is gonna be a long-term thing,
Yeah.
because your other barriers tend to fall over or people drive through them or they're not gonna drive through a Jersey barrier.
No.
Well, they might.
So the one more issue with parking on that has been brought to me is that for consideration, I don't have necessarily an opinion on it, but the consideration of the possibilities of slowing or putting a stop sign on Harriman Avenue, possibly 1 or 2. The folks have expressed that.
That's where,
Harriman and Maple. That's up for discussion, I guess. I can tell you after living on that corner for 41 years that that every day of the week there are people that run that stop sign at current speeds, 25 miles an hour, going mostly coming west from onto Maple Street. No particular time or day or anything like that, but
Wouldn't we have trouble with backing traffic?
you certainly wouldn't want to do that during the construction. I mean, I don't think that you'd want
Hinder traffic.
I tend to agree with that. So maybe just a little extra monitoring of
to
that.
monitor that a bit there, yeah, but I think, yeah.
Because the worry is that, and I obviously see it because I live there, but I wouldn't say the general traffic is excessive on that as far as speed goes, but we pretty easily see 45 miles an hour, or maybe even 50 on that street once in a while, because when they come through this intersection, they think, I'm going to the lake or something, I don't know. That part is just maybe something to watch and see. I guess we don't have any accidents.
Well, I live on Riverside and Highland, and they hardly ever stop at that stop sign on Highland. They go right straight through.
I don't think they ever stop.
You're right.
No, I don't think.
Nobody stops.
No.
So, but you know what? They can see all 4 directions, and they can.
Yeah.
So maybe adopting the DOT mentality, if nobody stops at it, the sign ought to be there.
Yes.
All right. So I would personally make a motion that we do those, except for the stop sign, but those changes on to Harriman Avenue. Minimum for the duration of the construction, and then to be decided when construction is done.
I would second that.
Can I ask a
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry,
Dave.
I have a clarification on Berman Street. Were you suggesting no parking on either side? You're completely closing off homeowners there from being able to have only on street or on premises parking there then?
That's pretty much what I'm proposing. You know, we put up with it all winter. We don't have on-street parking, and several of those houses are not occupied. Joel Danielson's two houses are, you know, summer home type occupancies. The one on the corner, I think, that's a summer type home. It's just I believe the only one that's there are the full time are the two folks that are closest to Keller Avenue.
It's already signed on one side there for no parking anyway,
Yeah.
that area there.
We're gonna have somebody falling down there.
Festival we put no parking signs there as well there
Yeah.
because it's really chaotic. Even trying to get semis through there, you know, and
So the answer is yes, I'm proposing that not be parking at all. Because the street is really narrow in there.
Call the question.
Did we get a second? Okay, yes, we did. All right. Motion's been made and seconded to do the following, the closures that were discussed. Do we need to list them all again? Do you have them, Patty?
Yeah, I'm gonna verify with Tom and Jeff,
Yeah.
just so I get the motion correct, but
And
yes.
when it comes to our council meeting, can we have just a rough schematic?
Yeah.
'Cause I think that would really
Yeah,
clarify it for everybody.
we can put it on
It's
the,
easier for me to point at stuff than it is to
Yeah.
a word picture.
Yeah, we can do that. Kind of.
that's a good idea. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
I believe that counts as an aye affirmative. Okay, Stour Trail update from Mayor Isaacson.
Much has been going on. I had Paul Muller, our attorney, contact the attorney for the Friends, and Krista certainly welcomed the city's interest in the lawsuits. The question is whether the city desires to attempt to intervene in the lawsuit. Litigation is expensive and results are never known up front. If the city has interest, I would involve our litigators, and for full disclosure, it'd be at normal hourly rates. Please let me know if the city has interest in pursuing an attempt to join the lawsuit. I personally would say no. But my question to Paul was, and he didn't answer my question, was all I would like for the city to do is get the bicycle and pedestrian plan overlaid over the top of the county plan, so it's part of the county plan. That was my whole thing. And it's also part of this thing because the county's not letting us do this. They don't want this done because of the small amount of paving we're gonna do on both trails. I talked to Bob Kasparsky at the Polk County level. He said litigation is all done. We're not doing anything. We're with it until this litigation is settled. So I would say, he said we can continue with everything in our pedestrian bicycle plan, just finish it up. Let's worry about, we don't have the money for the paving now anyway, so let's worry about the paving later. So I said that would probably be acceptable.
So we're still okay to make gravel, we can pave right up to the trail, is that?
Yep.
Okay. But
So,
for now, we're gonna do gravel. Anyway,
yes,
for the
yeah. we're gonna do that.
Base, that's
Yeah.
not base.
But then you also, and I'm gonna talk to him about, once the lawsuit moves forward, we can get involved at the appellate level, appellate level, and file an amicus brief, which would be a very minor amount of money to state our problem with the county of not even taking into advisement, and they had 3 years to do it, so. That was it.
Okay, thank you. Amer Lakes District update from Alderperson Leonard.
So there was just a couple things that I want to highlight that was talked about at the Lakes District meeting. I thought that we were doing committee updates here, so but it'll be fairly quick. The Clean Boats, Clean Waters, which is the group that pays for those people to be standing at the boat landings on Pike as well as North Twin. That grant was written by the Lakes District, but it's being sponsored through the city. So the city will be paying those folks that are doing that. And the easiest way to make that happen was for the city to sponsor that grant. So that's been applied for, and I think it's been accepted already for next year. The other thing that we talked about at length at our annual meeting, as well as our meeting this last a couple weeks ago now, is discussions about passing an ordinance for lake use on North Twin and Pike. At this point, it's only discussions. I don't think the Lakes District wants to get into the idea of creating ordinances around, no jet skis, no wakes from time X to time Y. So we're going to start with signage and start in the educational process, I guess, to get people familiar with what the actual standing laws are now about boat safety and those types of things. And then the last thing is the Lakes District has allocated $15,000 for shoreland restoration projects. So there's been a subcommittee that's been created that is going to be putting some guidelines around how that money is allocated. So there'll be more to come in that and more advertising, but I just wanted to let people know that that's out there, and that will be an opportunity for landowners around the lake to restore some shoreland. That's all I had.
Nothing we need to make motions on?
Nope, just more informational.
Okay. Proposed developers agreement for housing development.
What about the one before?
Kayak, no amenities.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, I missed that. Expansion of kayak canoe amenities. We talked about that briefly at our committee meeting last time, or I guess it wasn't talked about at the committee. We had been approached by Blackbrook Township if we had any interest in improving our canoe kayak entrance and exit around the dam. And as we looked at it, that looked like it was something that was pretty easy to do with minimal amount of cost to it. And Patty told me that we are going to be listed as part of a canoe trail on the county literature now. Is that correct? And so I guess I would make a motion that we expand that. You have pictures, or we'll send pictures around here of the both the upper and the lower part of the Apple River around the dam. And the proposal, I don't know if you can see that, Larry, too far away. That's the proposal for the lower side of the entrance to the Apple River. And there is a trail there already, although it needs just a little bit of work to make it easier for canoeists and kayakers to get around that. And I propose to do that. And then this is the picture of the upper part, the part that comes from the flowage. And that's already very easily adaptable for anyone that wants to canoe and kayak. Not to tie up there, but to get off of the flowage and down to the river part. And Blackbrook is pursuing a grant to make a better pull-off at the 46 bridge, which is not probably the best place, but at least to get a place that just isn't total all rocks and so on. And then the idea is to maybe put something in the brochures about, hey, you can kayak from the Apple River Park clear down to the Blackbrook Dam, which is, makes a nice a good day's canoe trip down through there by the time you look around, so.
Yeah, so Polk County has a recreational viewer on their website and shows all the trails, basketball courts, boat landings, about everything. And if anybody's very interested, go look up the recreational viewer on the Polk County website. It has more information on there than you can imagine, but we would add that recreational viewer. So people looking for, and you can search that recreational viewer by kayak trails, canoe trails, and people can actually find it and come to it.
So probably we need to have some signs over on the east side of the Apple River there, because we already have a little parking area there, but where canoeists and kayakers could park, put their canoe in and down below the dam and go down to the Apple River. Sounds like a good business opportunity for somebody, for Jack's Canoe Service to
Nice.
haul people back and forth. So,
Maybe something in the works.
yeah, maybe. Well, we hope so. So I don't think we need, once again, Parks and Rec budget is adequate to handle what we need to do there, so. Item 8 is proposed developers agreement for housing development.
And I've made mention of this a few times and working with the ADC and Paul Schaefer's here with us tonight, so step in at any time. Patty and Ben are working on a resolution that I want to propose to city council, allowing for, as part of a developer's agreement, that the city would initially front the cost of improvements, streets and sewers and all that. Whereas the developer would then repay that either through a special assessment or through a 10-year, 20-year contract price. We're not giving that money to them for free, or we're not giving them that infrastructure for free. We're just helping them defray the cost up front for it, to hopefully spur some development. And talking with Paul and the guys at AEDC, and that seems to be one of the hanging points with many developers interested in building, but once they see that initial cost for just the infrastructure, that kind of kills the deal right away. So if we could mitigate that somehow, I think we would do a lot better in attracting builders to start development. Mainly on small scale within the city. I don't know if you got anything to add to that, Paul?
I think you summed it up well. I mean, a year ago at this time, there was a developer looking at the property across the city drive, which has since, maybe it's 19, I guess, or 2019. And that fell away strictly because of infrastructure. The bids came in and just blew it out of the water and it stopped things. I'm not gonna sit here and say that he would have built the homes you talked about building, but the interest went away. A new person has bought that property, they have an interest, the infrastructure hit him also. He still his interest, but scaled back. So I think it's kind of the thing that you hear about other communities are doing of our size and even some into the 10, 12,000 population to entice building with the idea it's nothing free, it's just laying payback. And it's obviously these things put property in tax rolls and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's definitely, if it can be done, if the city can afford to do it or can do it, I think it really does move the needle a little bit in housing.
Yeah.
I think that's all we need.
And the other part of it too is gonna be, since it's part of the developer's agreement, there's gonna be many considerations, including what is our financial status at that time. It's not a guarantee, it's not, we're gonna do this forever, we're gonna take it into consideration as part of the developer's agreement. And, what is our financial status at that time? Currently today, after listening to Justin, we're sitting in a pretty good spot where we could help these developers out. Not to say that that's gonna be the same in 10 years or 5 years, but at the point that we're at today, I think we can definitely help these developers out and start spurring that growth within the city. I know the school district is looking at purchasing a couple lots, and that's one of the hangups that they're having, is that those lots would need a cul-de-sac or a street of some sort along with the infrastructure put in. And I think that would be an excellent opportunity for the city and the school to work together, get those houses on the market as well. One of the issues that the school district is having is is attracting good employees to come to Amory because there's no good housing. There's no single family, multi-family, residential, whatever. So if we can do a little bit to spur this, again, the city is not going to be out. And they're not looking for a handout. They're looking for just a different way to do it so they can make it happen.
And also be at the school district, and Paul was talking about that piece of property across from the shop. I believe Gary's putting together a package to start development of that land across from the shop. So this would something like this would tremendously make him think, wow, oh, the city's going to help me. I'm going to do it for sure. Let's go and move forward. So
Yeah, I don't think they need much of a push or much help, but I think they just need a little bit to
Yep.
get over that initial, the initial hump of those infrastructures. So they'll be coming at council if you'll have something drafted by then.
Okay, so we don't need any motions on that. I don't think.
We would need a vote though. If we're
Yeah.
recommending it to council.
All right,
I will make the motion that we recommend it to council.
I'll second that.
motion's made and seconded that we recommend a proposed developers agreement for mitigating the initial costs of infrastructure to, for housing developments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Library and senior center opening status.
I have the library opening status. We had our library board meeting last evening, and after much discussion, we are making a change to the current openings effective next Monday, the 22nd. It's based on the Polk County COVID numbers. We are currently in the high area, currently doing car side appointments and a couple days with browsing by appointment only. Like I said, after much discussion last night, it was decided that we're going to open up for more computer appointments, because that is where that particular area is very underserved right now. People have options to get books curbside, but they don't have the ability to use computers. So starting Monday, the library will be open by appointment only for 1 hour computer use Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And there will be appointment only 20-minute browsing appointments Tuesdays, 9 to 6, and Saturday, 9 to noon. And curbside pickup will be available Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6, and Saturday, 9 to noon. So basically curbside and appointments for computer usage Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Okay.
And was
I have a
the-
question, is-
Chad,
Yeah, I had a question. So is there not staff there every day? And if that is the case, I don't understand why appointments wouldn't be available every day in the normal library hours.
For browsing or for computer use?
All of the above, right? So if you've got browsing and computer open, I'm not sure why that wouldn't be every day, but only on select days. If the library is being fully staffed as it would normally.
Again, after lengthy discussion last evening, it was decided that we are going to continue doing browsing appointments only on Tuesdays and Saturday because of the cleaning. Has to do with the cleaning of the building as a whole. Happens on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And so people that are going to be coming in and using the computers are able to use the computers only, along with printers and copy machines that are right along the desk area. And there's just, and this is because we're still in the high. Once it moves to medium, it will be browsing appointments every day of the week, Monday through Thursday. Excuse me, Monday through Thursday and then Saturday. So while we're in the high, which is where we are now, it's still only going to be browsing 2 days a week. So that's what
And
was
is all the
decided.
staff working?
Yes. Not necessarily in the building every day, but there's staff there every day to accommodate curbside and to also accommodate the browsing. And there is staff there just because there will be doing the curbside and also now allowing computer usage.
Okay, at some point in time, people have asked me, at some point in time, if we continue, and I don't have a date or a time, but at some point in time, it has to be considered that the expenses of the library have to go down appropriately because we're not offering the same level of service that we did in prior times and years, so. Do we have anything on the senior center?
I've heard that they are going to be opening without restriction, but I don't know the dates.
We're gonna all be vaccinated.
With what?
Vaccinated.
Oh.
It's coming out pretty good now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's soon. I believe it's still this month. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to the date.
Okay.
But
I think people are getting anxious to return to, some semblance of normal service levels, and but with masks and vaccinations and social distancing, it seems to me that we've pretty much answered a lot of the questions as far as being able to safely open. Worth noting that City Hall is now open.
Yeah, we've been open since March 1st.
So, some point in time, you either gotta open or close, Okay, last item, is 404 Wisconsin Avenue water line issues.
I can speak to that, I guess. What he would like to do, right now, water main feed the two houses on the corner of Arch and Wisconsin. Comes through the parking lot of Dental Arts. And what happened is we ran a new line through there probably 15, 18 years ago, whatever it turned out to be. But then they came along and they shaved the parking lot down some more. So now it freezes and they don't want to let their water run all winter long. So that's the issue. If they ran their water, probably be all right. He just put a new sewer line in, so he's got a sump packet in the basement off the sewer, Star Street. And he doesn't want to have his water running, having that pump run all the time. And the other neighbor leaves for Texas during the winter.
Which two houses are they, Jeff?
I think the one was what,
Tax
the
bill?
nun's house, the old brick one right in the alley and the
Okay.
tax bill.
Is that rectory or whatever?
Mhm.
And tax bill aren't concerned about it, I don't think, because they leave for the winter. People that are in there now. So it's just the one guy,
So do we have to run a new water line?
we
Is
do
that-
have a water line on Arch Street.
Okay.
So we could, and the road is already ripped up, we're putting a new manhole in for him last year. So we could run a new water line to the property line, which would be about 50 feet. And then it'd be his responsibility or whatever to tie in, he can bore it again like he did or whatever to get it across the neighbor's yard to his. There's no way to get it to his place without going through the neighbor's yard, coming from Arch Street.
And he just did that with his sewer because the neighbor kind of cut him off.
So that was, we won't go either way on that, that was, each of them had their points.
Yes, they did.
Do we have,
Just an odd area
easements
there.
on any of that?
No.
We don't have
No
any easements?
Drawn up, nothing was ever,
That's in front of the, would be in front of the dental arts, still has to go in front of the dental arts building then,
No, we would come right off of Arch Street,
Arch Street, okay.
through the one, you'd have to bore through one person's yard. And I don't think he even got, he did his sewer last year, I don't think he had an easement for that either, I think he just kinda had to do it. So that's one
And-
option, or
and-
the city, I don't know what else.
And there, well, yeah, the only option probably is to condemn an easement on the, across the property, but you can do it without that.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
That's the only thing I could think of that would help.
I wonder if we should we approach that guy for at least an underground type easement across his
And I
property?
don't know if they did last time, or what happened, so maybe he's got one now, I really don't know.
Cause it still is just a real short-term solution if you don't have an easement across there. You bore a line across there and the line breaks, now you're really stuck, cause now you don't have any, right to go out and dig the thing up.
But see, the city has no and we looked it up with Patty before, we have really no jurisdiction in making them get an easement to the neighbor to get water, it's kind of.
It's a city easement, not,
Right, that's the thing, the city doesn't have any jurisdiction to do that, from what it looks like to us, we really don't. And we looked at it, and,
Cause we go to the property line.
Right.
We go to the property line on everybody's.
and we do have it coming to them the other way,
Right.
with, the line already there, so,
Is there an
That's
easement
where
for
we're
that
at.
line?
what's that?
Is there an easement for that line? That goes under the parking lot?
That's not. There's an easement for 90% of where it's come from around.
So anyway, yeah, they've been there for 20 years and I get a phone call just about every year, every winter, says, well, we gotta start running our water again. Can the city do something about it? And,
Well,
so,
I think we can run a line to the property line.
Yeah.
But after that,
Yeah,
they gotta figure that out.
Yeah.
Perhaps sending them a letter saying, hey, we'll go to the property line. You gotta figure it out after that, though. Is needed.
and I think we want to run two of them there, even if the people at tax don't wanna pay to hook theirs up right now, it would be there.
It's so,
Just do it once and be done with it,
Mhm.
and we can do that ourselves. There's nothing we need to hire out at all. Yep. Just material.
Seems like the most logical.
So should we pursue an easement across there, a utility easement across there?
I don't think we have to.
No, we don't have to.
I think we just notify the property owners that we're willing to go to the property line.
Yeah, but aren't you not saying that we have to go somebody else, across somebody else's property to go to the property line?
Correct.
But that's not our responsibility to do that easement. That's the homeowner's responsibility, because it's gonna be his easement,
It's a sticky.
It's a
that's
city
where we-
utility though.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, to me, it seems like if it's our sewer line and our water line to his property line, then we need the easement, not him.
or you need the easement to go across the guy on Arch Street.
Yes, yeah, and I think we should pursue, I mean, I'm not saying cancel the project if we don't, but seems to me like we're going just from the frying pan into the fire to get that.
Maybe a phone call to the attorney would clarify that, if it's already been on for.
I think we should do that. I'm not personally in favor of running lines unless we have an easement. That's,
Should have been done that way, yeah.
yeah.
You know, everything is.
It's hard to write 100-year-old problem, but
Well, so what would it take to correct it the other way? From
The other way?
The dental exit?
It's about 300 feet of digging it down. And you'd have to rip off, the whole parking
The
lot.
parking lot, then,
Grade
okay.
And
off
is-
the parking lot.
Is there an
So it's
easement
not
across
just
that
down
parking?
the alley, it's the entire parking lot?
Correct.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, it comes from what is
Clarification.
Island there.
Yeah, okay,
all the way across.
clarification, just to know.
And I don't think there's an easement there either.
pretty expensive, so. Well, if we could get an easement, that seems to me that would be the best way to go. Then we have legal authority to at least keep it up and, you know, something else happens to it, so.
Then if we do that, then do we have to run it to this property line? Then we'd have to pay for the boring or however to get it to there. Right now, I'm just talking about putting it on our street, but if we're gonna do that, we should probably put, I don't know. See,
Yes, you probably should.
I would say check with the attorney and see what about an easement
our responsibility.
and then, yeah, I'm not advocating putting it from his property line into his house, I don't think so, but if we get legal ability to go across there, so. Okay, at this point in time, we are due to go into closed session. And we'll be coming out of closed session simply to adjourn. Closed session for employee evaluations, Wisconsin statute 19.85, parent 1, parent C, parent F, employee evaluations, consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
Motion to go into close.